So let's have a look at the history of partition. What happened during partition? The modern state of India was created in 1947 after 350 years of British colonialisation. In the 19th century, several nationalist movements grew in Greater India, the most notable being the Indian National Congress and the Muslim League. Following 30 years of anti-colonial resistance, the new state was created through widespread violence and through religious and ethnic conflicts. It's important to note that the context in which India as a modern state was created, there was a growing focus on communal difference for carving out a sense of national unity and the justification for a centralised state-building process. The demands of the Indian National Congress, the key figures here being Gandhi, Nehru and Patel, were for the British to leave India, and they sought a secular pluralist state. The Muslim League led by Muhammad Ali Jinnah, was calling for both independence from the British alongside Congress, but they were also calling for the creation of a separate Muslim homeland. The important context to keep in mind is the construction of distinct religious identities, primarily Hindus and Muslims, that emerged in India as a colonialist form of knowledge that became central to the nationalist movements and process of state formation. The British classified and segregated what they understood to be distinct communities that, in their reading of India's pre-colonial history, perceiving that Hindus and Muslims were antagonistic towards each other, and structured institutions in accordance with difference. Even today in India, family law is still differentiated according to religion, with separate Muslim, Hindu and Christian laws, as it was under the British administration. Furthermore, throughout the colonial period, there were increasing incidences of communal violence based along religious lines, as opposed to class divisions. With the history of Muslim rule under the Mughals, the British interpreted Indian society and reconstructed Indian history along the lines of religious difference between Muslims and Hindus. It's important in this history to remember that while Congress was leading a civil disobedience movement against British rule, the Muslim League had supported the British during World War II. This support increased the favour of the Muslim League with the British and consolidated the belief on both sides that a united India could not be possible. When the British left, they agreed to partition Greater India into two separate states of Pakistan and India, with Pakistan understood to be a homeland for the Muslims under a constitutional monarchy. Pakistan itself was geographically divided into East Pakistan and West Pakistan to accommodate the majority Muslim populations. Accordingly, Punjab and Bengal states were split into two, and they were epicenters for the violence of partition. The deal with the British was rushed, however, and the leaders of the new states did not foresee the chaos and violence that partition would create. Some 15 million people were displaced in what was the largest human migration in the century. Muslims throughout mostly northern parts of India uprooted and moved to Pakistan, and Hindus likewise left their homes for India. Much of the movement was the result of violent coercion from the communities in which these religious groups lived. Partition was accompanied by widespread communal violence, rape, murders and looting. The account given in your readings today by Paul Brass gives a good sense of the genocidal nature of the violence of partition. Estimates of the number of people killed range between several 100,000 to 1 million. So we find that the creation of modern India and Pakistan and eventually Bangladesh in 1971 was based in a context of massive social upheaval and violence. This is a legacy that still casts a shadow over the internal security of India and Pakistan and indeed Bangladesh today. What is the legacy of partition for understanding in India's internal security today? We know that the rupture of society en masse through communal violence and the formation of the new state created inherent instability in the newly formed state of India, which meant that the state-sponsored violence was legitimised as a tool in the nation-building process. As to the legacy of partition, there remain important questions of post-conflict justice that are still unresolved. There was no meaningful process of reconciliation and healing following the violence of partition, and as we know, India and Pakistan have endured problematic relations, including 3 wars and a continuing border skirmishes due to the contested borders and an unreconciled past. One of the events that shows this most clearly was the abduction of women during partition that was a silent history central to the nation-building process. During the months of partition, some 75 to 100,000 women were raped and or abducted by the other side and were taken as wives in the newly formed states of Pakistan or India. Hindu women were taken by Muslims to Pakistan, and Muslim women were taken by Hindus to India. The recovery of abducted Hindu and Muslim women by the respective Indian and Pakistan states in the years following partition became a site of contestation between the two nations in constructing their newly formed identities. The state overrode women's choice as to which country they wished to live and forcibly removed women from their homes and their children born to the religious other to recover the bodies of these women that were seen to represent their nation. The importance of these women's bodies to the state-building process is well narrated in Menon and Bassin's 1998 book, Borders and Boundaries, which is shown here on the slide. The new state of India did re-establish order, and a secular democracy was established under the leadership of India's first Prime Minister, Nehru. However, the questions of justice were subordinated to the pressing goal of nation building and has underscored the tense relations between Hindus and Muslims, and of course Sikhs, who suffered terribly during this time. These events were crucial in consolidating Hindu-Muslim communal discourse and politics that are still at the fore of contemporary Indian politics today. This is most pertinent in the recent election of the Hindu nationalist Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, in June 2014. A third legacy of partition is the contested borders that have fostered protracted conflicts in Kashmir, Punjab, and the northeast of India, with the Sikh separatist insurgency in Punjab state now subsided. I won't have time to go into these now, but just to note the continuity of state oppression and impunity in these areas of unrest in which state security forces have been granted exceptional authority to maintain order and national unity. The close proximity between security forces and the civilian population has meant that violation of human rights are widely reported in these regions. And incidences such as the 1991 mass rape, in which over 100 women were raped and over 100 men were tortured by state security forces, still remain unaccounted for through a meaningful justice process.